welcome to another amazing episode of Angel and Her Unicorn comic book reviews. With me today is
James.
And I'm Alan the Unicorn. Welcome to our show. We'll be reviewing the books of the week, spoiling them like nobody's business. If you have not read your books, you may want to pause, take a moment to read, and then come back and see us. Otherwise, we will spoil the crap out of them for you and give our unsolicited opinions, which are always the best. So until then, you want to go first? You want me to go first?
Let's see. I guess I might as well start with the big one for the week.
That's what she said.
House of X or 10, as it were. Marvel's rebooting the X-Men franchise.
Soft reboot.
Yeah. I have not been keeping... Oh, it's by Hickman, who's in charge of all the X titles for the foreseeable future.
Yes. For at least a little bit.
And Larraz.
Pepe Larraz.
And Garcia.
Pepe Larraz. I love you so much. Your art is beautiful.
So, and it's... most people call it House of X, but according to some of the Marvel literature, it's supposed to be House of 10. So, I have not... Apparently, I'm supposed to be the target audience for this. I haven't been keeping up on the mutants' comings and goings in Marvel, but I was a little lost on this.
But if you are one that kept up with it, there's a lot of little nuggets that they have brought from the past.
Recent past, distant past?
A little bit of both.
Okay.
All over the board.
So, the basic premise is the island, the living island Krakoa, from all the way back, Giant Size X-Men #1, is now not a villain anymore, and it's, because it was a mutant, and it loves mutants, and it's here to help mutants. And it has all these powers. It can teleport mutants in between any 2 points that it's
I think that's something it's chosen to do. I don't think it's something that, it can teleport them, but it's chosen to only teleport mutants.
Right.
So, yeah.
And then it can... they can build... what they call them, missions, or... the embassy habitats.
Yeah.
And it basically forms a living building, and that's sort of... So the mutants are once again trying to build a mutant state. And this Krakoa is kind of their ace in the hole.
Yes. It's their landmass for their living, and it's also going to help them to be able to communicate and connect to the rest of the world.
Right. And Professor X put together a pharmaceutical company, and with Krakoa's help, they've developed 3 drugs. One drug lets people live 5 years longer. One drug stops all mental disability, mental problems. It's and then the other's prevents diseases of the mind, and the other's a super antibiotic. Yeah. And Xavier he's like, we will give these free to the world, or free to any country that accepts the mutant nation. And
so he's kind of using this as like a
carrot
chip.
and stick.
Yeah.
And and then this is as the original episode. They're kind of gathering up the mutants, and so then you see the humans are building a space station from the body of the old master mold.
And the humans are made up of different people from different areas. So there's people from S.H.I.E.L.D., people from AIM, people from SWORD, people from Hydra, and they've taken all these people because they've infiltrated all these areas, and they've taken these people, and now they're making their own little group, or they've been this group for a while.
So the
Orcus.
Yeah. And it was... The thought is, anytime a more advanced species comes in, that they wipe out the indigenous species in a short period of time. So non-mutant people feel that mutants with all their things are gonna wipe out normal humans quickly if they don't fight back. So this is their fighting back. So this is kind of everything being all the pieces being placed on the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of exposition about that Magneto spouting his mutant rhetoric. The Cyclops and Mystique and Sabretooth have a confrontation with each other, with the Fantastic Four.
It's like everybody's drawing their lines, and this is what that whole issue is about. Is like setting all their stuff up about the teleporters and the drugs and everything like that for everything to go wrong, and then it's also setting up everybody's kind of loyalties. Like mutants are gonna be with mutants, and if you're a mutant and you want to come to us, we'll protect you no matter what. It's just like we'll do our brand of justice, and so that's kind of where like a lot of that stuff, that whole book lies.
Yep. So, and Magneto declares that mutants are the new gods. So, it's an interesting premise. I was a little lost by the book. We'll see where it goes. I'm an old school, Uncanny X-Men back in the Claremont and Byrne days was
Which
my
yes.
golden ages of the mutants.
Yes.
It's a lot of the books I read. You have to have some kind of conflict or setbacks or something, or it's a very boring read. But a lot of these authors are, the more you screw with your protagonists, and the less things that they get that they want. This is high drama, and it gets so old. But the good guys can never win, or you can never tell who the good guys are. So we'll see if Hickman has any better luck with this series.
So my pros is I'm very excited for this because I like this idea. I like the premise that they're going with, and because I've always been a fan of the X-Men, and I'm ready for them to move on from past this. Oh, we're being downtrodden. We're the mutants, so everybody hates us. I'm ready to move past that and move on to, okay, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna make our nation. We're gonna, if people don't want us, they don't have to be around. There's kind of like it's moving on to a different thought process, which is fine by me, which I'm excited about because I'm kind of getting tired.
But I have seen this play out before, and it's not.
That's one of my negatives.
It's we've sung this song before, and if if the mutants draw these lines instead of trying to integrate themselves into society, the only thing you can do as a book is somebody
misunderstands
knocking over the punch bowl.
Yeah.
If you form your own nation, then everybody else's only thing is to go to war against that nation. Instead of if you just integrate yourself in.
That's kind of where the drugs and the stuff is kind of like, hey, we're trying not to be bad guys, but we want to be able to help. And I think that's why they're kind of trying to use that, is if you recognize us as people and here we will help you. And I think that's what they're kind of trying to do, or at least that's what the feeling I get. But I don't disagree. I definitely feel like that's one of my negatives, is that this has been done before. They've done Utopia, they did Genosha, they did what else? What was the other nation they did? We talked about it earlier. Genosha, Utopia.
There was an island off of New York, and
yes,
it's been.
That was Utopia. Yeah. So they've done this before, so I feel like this is not a new premise. So I'm kind of like, okay, we have seen this before. But the second thing that I'm a little bit that kind of puts me off as a negative is a lot of these characters are not in character. So if this is what they're going with, I think they are probably going to have a lot of conflict in between those because this is not like...
Not all mutants feel that
right.
Mutants should be separate from everybody else.
They hold on to that previous idea of like, we can integrate, we're fine, we don't need to, we shouldn't separate ourselves, we should, try to unite. And so like, I feel like Jean Grey is definitely one of those people, and Storm's one of those people.
Well, and there's a lot of mutants that like the rest of the world, that like humans.
Or like Franklin Richards are part of the human world anyways, because their families, they got their powers from a different way. And so I definitely think I feel like some of this is out of character, and a little bit more. I'm curious to see how that's going to go. So I'm willing to give it to take this leap of faith.
And you can see the mutant faction. They're not all going to be united. They're not going to all have the same goal. Well, and so they're going to start infighting probably in issue 2.
Yeah, I think there's going to be infighting, especially when they're taking in like Sabretooth, Mystique, and Toad, and like they're breaking the law, and then where they're just harboring them. I feel like there's going to be a brand of justice somewhere in there. So I'm curious to see where it's going to go. I'm super excited, and I love Pepe Larraz's art. Is the most I love his stuff. I loved him when he did Avengers. I liked him when he did another more recent book. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head, but I love his art, so it's even that much more exciting that the adventure is going to be at least beautiful too. So I'm excited about that. I liked it a lot, but I am a long-time standing X-Men fan for many, many moons, so I definitely liked it. I would give it 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'm super excited about the new premise.
I'd probably only rate it a 3. It's they're kind of riding themselves into a corner. If this doesn't work, then what?
Yeah, you just gotta wait. Have faith. I live on the island of hope. I hope everything's gonna be okay. All right, so I'm gonna keep with the Marvels #1. I did Valkyrie #1, Jane Foster Valkyrie. It was pretty good. I really kind of liked this. But this is a spinning off of War of the Realms, where she, in order to fight Malekith, they took different Thors from different times. There was like a young Thor, a really old Odin Thor, like a All-Father Thor, the Thor nowadays, and Jane Foster came back. She took the hammer that I think came from like the. What was the universe that they did with the Miles Morales and the Ultimate World? Like his hammer, it ended up shattering and becoming something different. Like it's like a bracelet kind of almost on her arm, and she's turned into the Valkyrie. So now the first part, she's fighting these kind of like goofy goons, and uh, they have these like suits of armor, but they raided this weapons cache of dark elf weapons and other weapons of from the War of the Realms that's coming from the cleanup. They've robbed this convoy and they're stealing all the weapons. So Valkyrie flies in. She's fighting them, and it's kind of like an exposition of like who each one of them are, and like how it's almost like a way to explain her powers. So the one turns invisible, and she uses her Valkyrie vision. Like she can see things that are not there. She sees him, and so he's not. So she stops him because she can actually see him. She uses her magic wings that magic's from the weapon into stop one of the arrows, and she's going after Dragonfang, the sword that the previous Valkyrie actually used, and so she's trying to get it, but he gets away, and so then it cuts to her new job where she ends up getting kind of demoted because she always is late. She's not reliable, so the director of the hospital puts her in the morgue. And in the morgue, she finds the guy that ran away from ran away and got away from her with Dragonfang. He's in the morgue now because he ends up getting killed, so she doesn't know who has Dragonfang anymore. So she uses she kind of goes like into the Valkyrie mode where she's like, I just say these words and I'm not for sure how they are coming from me, but like it's like something takes over me. And she uses it to get to Valhalla, and talks to the old Valkyrie, who is obviously dead. She got killed in War of the Realms, and she's kind of getting more information about Dragonfang and what it does, and what how she could follow it. And so they kind of give a rundown of what Dragonfang, like kind of adding into the why she should be worried that Dragonfang is missing. And so she uses Heimdall to come help her find the sword. And that's when he kind of directs her to use her own Valkyrie sight to kind of find help find what's going on. And so she's looking, and she starts to discover that the closer people are to death, the more the death totem above their head it is like for the little kids it's like this little tiny black hole, and then the homeless guy, it's got a bigger skull. And then she turns to Heimdall, and Heimdall's like this. It's got this big giant sphere. So he's getting ready to die. So she's like, before she can warn him, he gets stabbed through the chest, and it ends up being Bullseye. And Bullseye has not only Dragonfang, but the Pegasus that Valkyrie rode, because that was part of Dragonfang. Dragonfang can make you a more expert person with weapons, make you better at using it, and also call the horse. So Valkyrie gets ready to take Dragonfang back from him. I really enjoyed it. I don't think it's gonna. I mean, like I feel like it was really well written. Easy to follow. I like the characters. I like the art was beautiful. They just did really well with this number one. I enjoyed it a lot. So I'm curious to see what they're gonna do with this character. I like natural progressions like this. Like I like that she was, she used to be a side character. It reminds me a lot like what Josh Whedon would do in the Buffy universe. Like he would, Willow started off as this shy nerd hacker, and then all of a sudden she became like this prominent hacker, and then she became this witch, and then she became he kept progressing his characters to be different and better. And I feel like this is kind of what Jane Foster's done. Jane Foster was a side character. She was just the love interest. She was, she really wasn't anything other than something for Thor to hold on to. And then she became Thor. She went through cancer treatment. They've used her a lot in the past couple of years, and I think they've really used her to betterment of like not only female characters but just like side characters in general. They've made her into something different. So now they've this is another progression. She's no longer Thor. She's moved on to something else because Thor's back to being Thor. So I think it was kind of a neat transition instead of just going, well, she's just going to go back to love interest. And she actually that's kind of a turmoil that they have in there too, is like, I used to be Thor. I used to be in love with Thor, and now I'm just like this, I'm just normal again. Like, how do I deal with that? Then she becomes Valkyrie, and she's like, okay, now I'm this new thing. So how do I deal with that? And I kind of like that. So I really enjoyed it. I'd say 4 out of 5 unicorn horns. Probably the only thing that would make it even better is if like it was. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know. Like more action. I'm always about the action, but I really enjoyed it. So I think it's gonna be. I hope that they continue down this road and give her the props that she needs in the growth of a new character. But time will tell.
Yeah. Are you doing
Nope.
Swordmaster?
You do whatever you would like.
Well, I read this one, Swordmaster. It's number 1.
Also by Marvel.
By Marvel. It's by
Shizu.
Artist is Gunji, and the adaptation is Greg Pak. I don't know what that means.
So I think these were done by a different company or different artists, it's like a manga book.
Yeah.
But Greg Pak has interpreted it into adapted it to American.
Okay. So I was lost through most of this book. Kid has a dream of the god of war, who's this big giant monster, killing all these people, and he's got a magic sword that he can't even lift. And his dad's there, and his dad saves him, and at the cost of his own life. And then he wakes up, and it was a dream. And then he's got a buddy that's messing with him. The buddy keeps like goading him on, but then he's also super. Anything he needs, he's. Oh, I know how to do that.
Yeah.
And so they found this magical sword that
His dad left behind.
His dad left behind when he disappeared. And so the kid decides he's gonna look into the disappearance of his father. He finds a contact in his dad's phone or something like that, and follows that and meets with these
Ruffians.
nefarious characters.
Nefarious beings.
And he wants to know where his a Qian Feng Lu, the Valley of a Thousand Tombs.
It's where his father went missing, because in the real world, not in the dreams, but he's his father's kind of gone missing.
So and to pay for that, he offers to give them a jade cicada, which is a little carved statue, and excuse me. They show him a picture of the magic sword that he carries and this red fog, which you assume has something to do with the god of war giant monster thing. And they recount the tale of how they met his father, and we're gonna rob him, and when they unleashed some horror from the ground, and so they are both trying to warn him off and take advantage of him at the same time. So the kid puts the figurine in a puzzle box, and the bad guys can't open it, and so the one guy's like, "Well, we'll just get a hammer and crack it open."
Yeah.
Says, "Well, then you'll break the cicada." So the kid follows the directions, and he's gonna look for this valley, and just then a messenger arrives with a package from his father.
Bum, 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 bum.
And the messenger looks like there's something wrong with him.
He looks possessed.
That he's a monster. And then it jumps
It's like a backup story.
To a backup story, and I don't know if this is set after.
It is.
So it's like 2 months later, in this kid's quest for knowledge about his father.
Because this is also takes place after War of the Realms. Because after in War of the Realms, he helps the agents of Atlas.
Okay.
Stormmaster does.
So that. Thank you. So he meets Shang-Chi, the master of Kung Fu, and Shang-Chi is kind of dismissive toward him. Shang-Chi's going to help him, but he's going to help him by being hard on him, I guess. And
or showing him the
try
error of his excitement.
to train him. Yeah. And so Shang-Chi's like, well, you've got a magic sword. I've got this tree trunk up here, and destroy it with one hit. And the kid hits it, and it doesn't work. And Shang-Chi's like, I can destroy it with one hit. And he examines the log and sees the grain and does one hit, and then he's able to split it in two.
Shang-Chi.
Because studying Kung Fu lets you know everything there is to know about wood grain and strong points of logs, and there's a lot of that in your Kung Fu training.
Haven't you ever watched a Kung Fu movie ever?
I mean, Bob Vila is a triple black belt because he understands wood so much, right?
That's right.
And Al, or Norm.
I don't know, but we just gotta be careful with the understanding wood part. We're gonna get into some dangerous territory.
So,
that's what he said.
So Shang-Chi is like, you've got this magic sword, and you're dealing with the gods and stuff, and you got to be careful because you never know. If you go running off half-cocked, that bad things are going to happen. And then you see Ares is keeping an eye on this kid, and he's got an evil grin. And dun dun dun. Yeah, I didn't care for this.
I'm not disagreeing with this.
The art was okay. It was very manga-esque.
Yeah.
But it was kind of trite, and it jumped all over the place, and I didn't care about any of these characters.
No.
I don't care about this sword. I don't care if it falls in the wrong hands. No. And that's your job, is to make me care. So.
Well, I just don't feel like I don't feel like any of it it is. Yeah. I'm
not rooting for the kid.
No. And this is the second one that they did. The other one was Arrow. But it's like the wind superhero. That was also from Agent Atlas, and that one wasn't that good either. Like, it's just they're boring. Like it's boring. There's nothing to them. Like, I mean, even the setup was weird. It felt very forced and like odd, and there was just nothing about it to latch on to. Like, Agents of Atlas I actually enjoyed until the last issue, but like I enjoyed the book, and I think the characters would be fun, but for some reason, like, I don't know if it's just the way it's written or if it's the way it's paced. I don't know what it is either, I don't like the double. Like, I don't need two stories. Like, you don't need two stories. You need one.
Well, and if you're gonna have two stories, have two characters, and don't have it be.
Well, that's what they did in the other one. They had one story about the Aerial girl, and then the other one was about the Wave Master girl, and it didn't work. Like, it's like you need to either have a full book and bring these other characters in with you, or you need to have a full book and just do one character, or do that story, because I feel like a lot of this stuff is not, like, they're not fleshing it out quick enough, or they're not able to, and so it's it's just odd. It doesn't work.
So
well.
if you're gonna do a 2-part story about Ponce de Leon looking for the Fountain of Youth, and the first story is him setting off to find it, and then the second story is him at 70 years old,
get ready to take this
talking about how he never found the Fountain of Youth, well, then you know that the first story's not going to end very well.
Yeah, it's just weird.
Jumping around in time just to do it ended
or
up
if you did it
ruining
within
both
the
stories.
story. Yeah, if you did it within the story, I don't know. And the other thing is like this cover, this cover alludes to nothing. Like there's two other characters.
I don't know who she is. I don't know.
I'm
Is
assuming
this
that's the best
friend?
friend, but he's got some kind of
But
whip.
he's got a mask and a whip, and
so
he
they
has
were never
no
even
powers.
touched on. I'm like,
He
so
said
what?
he can pick a lock. That was the only thing that.
Yeah, I don't. Neither one of them. I actually, honestly, to be honest, they look more interesting than he does, and I don't. I'd say 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. I was not enthused.
Yeah.
I was really disappointed.
So.
Yep. All right, so I'm gonna do Star Pig by IDW. It was written by Delilah Dawson and art by Francesco Gaston. So this is an odd one. Like, it's humans. They are going up in space, like to some space camp. So it's these young kids are on a space shuttle, but apparently space camp is in space. So I'm assuming it's the future.
No.
I mean, I don't assume they go to space camp in the space anymore. I mean, I never went to space camp. I think I would go to space camp if I got to go to space. But needless to say, so they're in space camp, or going to space camp, they're in the shuttle. All of a sudden, things start going awry, and so this girl, she gets ready for a crash. All of a sudden, a comet hits the space shuttle, splits the space shuttle in two. Everybody's let out in space and starts to die. She's getting ready to die. She starts to freeze, and then all of a sudden, she's swallowed by what looks like a big, giant pink butthole. And no, I'm not joking. That's literally what it looks like. And then she comes to find out, she wakes up and she's inside this creature who is communicating with her telepathically, and it looks like a big giant butthole with legs. I mean,
it's tardigrade, which is a water bear, and it's an actual microscopic creature, but they don't get that big.
They do in this. So, it is basically sentient and can telepathically talk to her. So then it starts to run down what's going on, and she realizes that she's inside of him, and he's waiting for. He says he's kind of waiting for somebody, and she's like, "Oh, you're waiting for marauders," and she's like, "We gotta get out of here. We can't wait for marauders because they'll try to kill us all. Just try to kill us." He's like, "No, we'll be fine." So they get sucked up in this alien ship, and she gets released out of the say it again,
tardigrade.
Thank you. And she all of a sudden this ghost comes up, and he's kind of the marauder that is collecting all these things from Earth. And they kind of allude that they didn't know there was aliens, so now they're just kind of like they're up in space, but they didn't know there's aliens. So apparently they haven't had contact with them. So she passes out from this interaction with all these weird creatures, and the ghost kind of creature starts to try to figure her out and try to figure out what's going on. Well, when they go inside, the tardigrade also shrinks down a little bit, so his mass isn't as ginormous to be able to fit into the ship. And that's about the gist of it. I don't even know what to say. The story's not that good. I don't understand where they're gonna go with it. I have no idea what's going on. It's just a bunch of weird interactions. Not that it was bad or poorly written as far as dialogue. The dialogue all made sense, but a lot of it was exposition to tell you how you should think, or why things were this way, or it didn't go anywhere, and so I'm not for sure what they're gonna do. Like, I don't know if it's like a alien encounter book, or if she's trying to survive, or I wasn't for sure. We had read one a couple weeks ago. There was one where they were space haulers, and the boy grabbed this hammer, and he kind of became like this weird. He could survive in space, and he met these weird creatures. That one was awesome. I really liked that one. This one was not like that. This one was. I didn't understand. I don't even know why this became a book. Like, it sounds like a. This sounds like an idea that you would have if you already had a book established, and this is something that would happen to one of those characters. But none of this stuff is. It's all just. I don't know. Like, I don't even know.
So I feel like an author watched a late night documentary about tardigrades and had a really spicy pizza and had a bad case of indigestion, went to sleep, had some really vivid dreams, and woke in the middle of the night and said, "I've got to write this down," and did.
And it's gonna be a book.
And wrote a book, and everybody's like, "Well, I don't get it, so it must be fantastic."
Yeah, I just don't. I mean, the art is really nice. They do real. I mean, like, characters look like characters. They look like themselves. They, you can tell what everything is. There's no, it's not very grainy. It's very nice, but the colors are really nice. I won't pick up number 2 because I have no idea nothing. 0. So, sadly, 1 out of 5 unicorn horns. I feel that way about a lot of the IDW books. I feel like IDW, like, they just put stuff out just to put stuff out, and a lot of the stuff is not that good, and it makes me sad because it's just proliferating the world with crappier stuff, which makes it even harder on the other books. So, yeah. Sadly, that one didn't get a big to do.
Okay.
All right.
So my final book, I'm doing a number 2 of a book I've reviewed before, The Weatherman, by Image. It's written by Jody LeHupp, art by Nathan Fox,
and this is volume 2.
And other things by Marino Dinicio. And yes, this is volume 2.
Number 2.
Humans have gone out into the solar system. Terrorists killed most of the people on Earth, and there's a toxic virus that's killing the rest. Earth is quarantined. The premise of the first volume is that this guy that's a local weatherman, he was one of the terrorists, and they mind wiped him and put a new personality in of this weatherman, and half the people want him found and punished, and the other half want to use him to find this terrorist organization who's planning another attack. So you've got a bunch of people that want him dead, and a bunch of people that want to keep him alive, and they're fighting.
Use them for information.
So, in the second volume, they think that his original memories are stored on Earth. So they go down there, knowing that the evil virus is down there. In the first series, they alluded that the virus just killed everybody, and you find out that's not true, that it's turning... It killed a lot of people because there's a big mountain of bones, but that it's also turning people that kind of zombies, and they can't be killed, that the virus rejuvenates them. And then they turn into monsters. I like the original ones. This one kind of started to lose me. I'm sure the artist and the author knew what they were trying to do, but they didn't explain it very well. So they fight some monsters, and then there's this little girl on some kind of bear, and she's trying to find comic books.
Well, duh. I mean,
and then she's crippled. She's got walking canes. So these humanoid monsters that have been infected by the virus are attacking the group that was looking for the backup personality. One of the, I don't really want to call them good guys because there are some bad guys. The protagonists, I guess, one of them gets killed by the virus people. The rest of the protagonists go back to their ship to hide. They're like, well, the ship is safe. The bad guys can't get to us. And then this giant monster comes up out of the bones, and they think the monster can probably get through. Well, then the little girl and her blue bear show up, and a lot of very confusing, poorly drawn panels occur. You assume she shoots them, I think, maybe, and there's possibly an explosion, and there's a red box that things are happening to, and it's not well drawn. But and then the monster goes pop and disappears, and so the little girl on her blue bear has saved them, and they ask her if she knows where the doctor is that took the guy's personality, and she's like, oh yeah, I know right where he is, and she leads it to him, and she leads him to a grave. So it's still an interesting idea. I understand some of the art choices. They're going for the trippy new age stuff, but it is so hard to tell what is going on. If you're gonna draw art like that, it just, I don't know, draw better.
Be more detailed in a different way.
Yeah, it's I still want to like it. I still want to see what happens. There's gonna be a twist. You can just feel it that either this guy is that he's not the person that they're looking for, or that he was like a deep cover operative or something, that he ends up not being a bad guy. There's gonna be a twist. You can feel it coming. So I kind of
on the horizon.
I kind of want to stick with it, but they're not making it easy. So I gave the last one maybe like a 3. I give this one 2.5 horns.
Going downhill, huh?
Yeah, it needs to get better and quick.
So my last book I'm gonna do is Tank Girl Forever, written by Alan Martin and art by Brett Parson, which I think they've been on the book for quite a while. Like, I think they're kind of the creators, if I remember correctly. It's been a while. I've slept since then.
I think I'm the one person in North America who actually liked that movie.
Tank Girl?
Yeah.
No, me and David loved that movie.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a cult weirdo film. Like, it's just an odd film, but I love that movie. Yeah, it's hysterical. So in this, Tank Girl is actually like a superhero kind of thing. She has she's fighting like a villain in this tank suit that she has. It's got this big target on her chest, and so she fights this villain, which she ends up finding out that it is one of her friends. But she's kind of trying to figure out how the suit works, so it kind of alludes to the fact that she's in this superhero costume, but she's not quite sure how she got there, and they kind of talk about that a little later. But so they fight, and all of a sudden, Jet comes in and punches the villain to help Tank Girl out. They get her. They end up shooting her, and she goes over all the buildings and lands up in the harbor. So they go flying to the harbor to stop her, and then all of a sudden, Sub Girl shows up, and so there's Tank Girl, Jet Girl, and Sub Girl, and Sub Girl uses like this water vortex to kind of stop the vampire-esque villain, and then Tank Girl. She's like, well, she pushes the blue ring and it does something. She pushes the white ring and it does something. So she didn't push the red one quite yet. So she finally pushes the red one and it makes her armor go away. So she's like, no! And then all of a sudden the bad guy throws a boombox at her or knocks her out or knocks her down. So Sub Girl kind of helps them out by throwing a net over the girl, over the villain, and then Jet throws her in the water. While she's in the water, while the villain's in the water, all of a sudden that's when they come to the realization that this particular girl is one of their friends, I guess. I'm not for sure, because this is the first actually comic book that I've read in a long time about Tank Girl. I used to read it back in the 80s or 90s when the movie came out, but that was...
Jet Girl, played by Naomi Watts, a personal crush of mine.
Oh, that's right. It was her, wasn't it? I forgot. Jeez, I forgot about that. There's actually a lot of people in that movie that I forgot about. Ice-T? Yeah, he was one of the kangaroos. Or battle... Well, no, they weren't camp. What were they? They weren't kangaroos. They were something else. Anyway, so so the villain's in the water. All of a sudden, this ghost of her comes up and saves her body, and then it ends up being two of them. So then Tank Girl finally gets her armor to come back on. When she does, the villain uses her powers to is getting ready to make Tank Girl actually shoot herself, and that's where the book ends. So
why are you hitting yourself?
Yeah, exactly.
Why are you hitting yourself?
Honestly, I feel like this. Okay, for the most part, I felt lost because I feel like there was a lot more books before this that I maybe should have read, but it said this was a number 1. So then I went back and looked, and it looks like they did miniseries. So there'd be 4 issues of some kind of arc. There'd be 4 more issues of another kind of arc. 4 more issues of another kind of arc. So apparently a lot of these characters came in way back then. So I have no idea who any of these people are. So when she was really upset that this girl was the villain, she was she made it feel like she was one of her friends. But I have no idea who she is. And so a lot of this book I was lost, but I have to say, I really like the art, and I thought that it was very retro. It kind of reminded me of a more...
Tank Girl's always had out there art.
Yeah. And I felt like this was very 60s mod kind of feel, but it had a Mike Allred feel to it, the thick lines, and I liked it. I really liked the art. The art was really good. But it was really confusing. But I feel like that's how Tank Girl always is. I'm always confused. Even when you watch the movie, you're like, I'm not for sure what happened, but they're like, okay, we'll just keep going. And it's like, oh, okay, this is weird. Okay, we'll just keep going. So for the most part, I thought it was an interesting book, but it makes me want to kind of go back and read the other ones because I'm not for sure what's going on. So
Tank Girl has one of my favorite lines from a movie ever. It's been swell, but the swelling's
gone down. That's a good one. My favorite one is when she's in there and she's trying to get Jet out from that madam, and she's like, come Bettina, come Bettina, and she pulls her. She's, come on, girl. That's one of my favorite parts. I just think it's funny. And then when they take the madam and they take her over, and then she's cutting her hair off, and so I think I don't know. It's just such a quirky, weird movie. If you ever watch it and you think we're weird for watching it, yeah, you're probably right. But I also love Lori Petty too. She's a weirdo, anyways. I like her. I've liked her in a lot of stuff that she's done because her and Juliette Lewis, both weird actresses.
Did you see the movie about Lori Petty's growing up that Jennifer Lawrence did.
No.
She did not have a happy childhood.
We'll have to talk about this later. Anyway, so Tank Girl, the standalone issue, I give it a small rating because I would say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns, just because I didn't understand what was going on. But as a whole, I bet this would be a higher book if I read the other ones and actually knew that this was not like a beginning book or a number one per se. Even though it is labeled as a number one, it's a number one in this particular arc that they're doing, not a number one as far as the series goes. So I wish I would have known that going in. Sadly, I give it a smaller rating, but honestly, there was a lot of great things about this book that I kind of really want to go back and read the other stuff. So I may pick up the second issue just so hopefully maybe eventually I'll try to keep going. We'll see. So did you do any other ones?
I read the
Quick, Fast, and Hurry
finale of the Star Trek Q book. The big crossover with all of the various.
Quick synopsis. Player needs sued. They win.
Yeah, the Q conflict. It ended like a lot of these books ended, quickly and contrived, and you know they were just throwing in people to have cameos and the good guys prevailed.
Yay!
And
which team won? Did any of them, or was it like a draw?
It was kind of a draw.
Okay, I assumed. Did you like it though?
It was, for what it was okay. There was a couple interesting moments when like Kirk and Worf hit it off pretty well for a guy that hates all Klingons, and so it was just fun little romp. And trying to think if I read anything else. There was a Marvel Tales featuring the Hulk came out, but it was all it was 3 reprints. It was Incredible Hulk 324. When the Grey Hulk came back, and then they had Savage She-Hulk #1, the origin of She-Hulk, and then Incredible Hulk 377 when they merged all of Bruce Banner's personalities and he became Professor Hulk, which is what was alluded to in Avengers Endgame. Spoiler alert.
So I read Freedom Fighters #7.
They fought for freedom.
They did. Very much a Anne Frank kind of story where they're stuck in the basement of these people. The guy tries to save his family by betraying them. Everybody gets free, but the plastic men show up and fight, and then everybody gets free because the dying wife believes in Sam in the future, so he stops everybody, beats everybody up, and then you find out that doll woman, the doll character she's been replaced by one of the plastic people, so she's obviously going to be betraying. I actually didn't mind this one. This one wasn't that bad. 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. This was a decent read. Art was really good. I'm curious. It's like it held me on just a little bit longer to go on. So I'll see if I'll try to get the next one, #8, and see how it keeps going. I'm hoping they continue down this path a little bit more. Distant Shores.
They have tried and tried.
I know that we say this every time.
Tried to do Freedom Fighters. It never seems to last past about a year.
Yeah. Distant Shores. This one was the odd one. It was like an anthology of different superheroes, but it's not a world I know of. I guess it's an independent. But there's 3 different stories. One of them was about this, I don't know, a guy and a girl, and they're kind of a superhero fighting team. One of them was this guy uses the energy from the city that every now and then, when the city's in trouble, this energy will come out and pick a random person to help, and he uses this special apparatus to steal that. When it comes out, he steals it, and he becomes a superhero. So he goes to save this woman that jumps off a building, and when he does, she breaks her neck because he doesn't know. He catches her, and when he catches her, she snaps her neck, and so he actually ends up being charged with murder.
Gwen Stacy's her.
Yep, and he kills her. Yeah, and so then, but he gets charged with murder. And then the other one was like this other character. It was a weird. I don't know. Like, I wasn't my bag. I'd say 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. I mean, so the first story was kind of neat, but the other ones was kind of different. I don't know. The other one was Molly and the Space Driver. I don't even know what the hell I read. It's this weird, random, like, comic booky, like, comic strip kind of setup, and it's about this girl, and they're a guitar and this band, but there's things and I don't know.
Stuff and people and
yeah, I need somebody to explain it to me. I feel like it was like an art student, or not even art students. It was like a metaphysical somebody's paper that they wrote down. Here, draw this, and like, I don't know. And the other one was Lex, spelled LX, by Tumbled Heroes Comics. It was an independent. He's a clone of a clone, but he's an offbeat, and so he sleeps with this oracle. And this oracle kind of is like, you're going to save the world, and I don't know. It was really weird. The art in it is very homoerotic. It's very much, I mean, like, everything he has is skin tight, and he's got these big giant muscles, and it's just like, it alludes to a point where he was a prostitute, and he slept with anybody, and then, like, I don't know. It was weird. Very, very odd. Spectrum #1. Again, another independent book. I'm assuming this is a LGBTQ and other LGBTQ plus book. The character is gay. It's about him coming out as a gay man, also him coming out as a hero because he gets these powers from the Aurora Borealis, and they kind of set up with this government. It actually wasn't half bad. I was surprised but the art in it was very generic. It's like there's one artist that does all these generic books, and it looks just like the rest of them. It's not bad, but it's not great. It's just weird. It's just this weird stylized art. So I mean, like, I don't know. If I catch #2, I might try to pick it up. I don't know. It was a little. We'll see. I'd say 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I wasn't mad at myself reading it. I wasn't upset. Lex, I would probably give maybe 2 out of 5 unicorn horns. I'm not for sure what the hell that was I read. Heart of Magic, the Oz, the Zenoscope. Again, it was an okay book by Zenoscope. Okay characters, okay art. Zenoscope does it again. Lumberjanes, #64. They finally wrap up this arc where they've been in this kind of savage land kind of place, and they save all these dinosaurs, and then they finally get back to the camp. So I love Lumberjanes. I think it's very much an empowerment story for anybody, but also like a female empowerment. I feel like it's very much like a adventure book. It's very young reader. Whoever does this book is really talented at their writing, and the only thing that I've said it before and I'll say it again is like I wish they had a consistent artist, because sometimes the characters, it's very off-putting because they do a different artist like every single arc. And when they do that, it's very hard to get into it's like, who's this one again? Who's this one? And I have a hard time telling who's who. Not because they don't look different, just because I don't remember the characters because they look completely different than the artist that did them before. So it's not like a fill-in artist, it's just like they do it completely different. So I wish they would find a more, because every time I get used to one, they switch it. And it's like, dang it. I did Psylords #2. They did it, it's kind of like, these humans are powered, and they found out that they're in this big giant space station, and they're gonna end up. There's other species that have been powered, and so I think they're gonna have to fight them. So they fight this one guy, and it ends up being they're like the little creatures that they were trying to protect. Ends up they stop the bad guy, but then they're like, oh well, yeah, you stopped him by throwing him in the sun, but what about the 1,000 other ones that are coming at you? And so like there's all these other aliens, so they're trying to figure out how they're gonna get through. oddly want to keep reading, and I don't know why. It's just different. And the art in it's very pretty. It is like a watercolor colored pencil look. It's just beautiful. Like, the characters in it are just so pretty. Glow, the summer special. So they do original story, and then they do a reprint. And in the original story, it's really kind of fun. They trying to figure out they kind of figuring out a way to address nuclear war. So because it's all set in the 80s, like the Cold War, and like how they can address it through the wrestling story. And so they kind of find this little thing, and they have a little match, and they end up making the glitter dome, and it was pretty cute. I like. It's kind of funny and silly, but yeah, I liked it. So 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. I read the Secret Warps Arch Knight Annual. So the only reason I read this is because it has like a mashup of my favorite characters. So it has a mashup of Squadron Supreme and the new universe that Marvel did way long ago with like Starbrand, Night Mask, DP7, all those. So they mashed them up with Squadron Supreme characters. Both some of my favorite books ever. So I really enjoyed this. Or I didn't enjoy this book, but I really liked the mashup people. Like, I thought it was fun because they did like Power Princess and the one girl that she could give people like energy. She could give them a boost of power. It was really fun. I really enjoyed it. So, and then Sync number 10. This is one of the books that came out of book club that we do. Terry picked it for us a couple picks ago, and I actually kept doing it. It's like a horror anthology book. This one was really fun. It's about these couple that go on a first date. They end up being into S&M. She ties him up, and while she ties him up, somebody knocks on the door, and he breaks in, and like he tries to kill her, or he knocks her out, but then he finds the guy, and he's getting ready to kill him. So she knocks the guy in the head, and then they get ready for all their buddies to come out because the buddies are coming. So the buddies show up, and they beat the crap out of him with sex toys.
Okay.
So fun. It's such a weird book, and it's a horror anthology, and it's very much a horror anthology, but it's not like so grotesque and awful that you can't not get into it, or you can't get, like sometimes I feel like horror, sometimes it's just too intense to where you just like, I can't do it. This one's like a horror anthology, but they kind of make it like sometimes they usually have like a humor twist, or they have an action twist, and there's some reason that I've latched onto this book, and I don't know why, but I just really like it. The art I hate the art, but for some reason it works with this book. If it was on any other book, I would just be like, meh. I think I've actually brought this up. There was another book I read that I was just like, it looked like Sync, and then it ended up being the same guy. So it's very distinct. Sorry. And then I don't know. I just really like this book. I know you hate the Sync, but I did. I liked it. So 4 out of 5 unicorn horns, really fun. And that was it. I think that was it. I think I read Justice League Dark, which was actually pretty. They're setting up some stuff. The new Martian Manhunter was actually. I like the new Martian Manhunter. A lot of people don't, but I love Riley Rossimo's art. Another great artist that I think is just, his style is so weird and so awkward, but it works for Martian Manhunter because he does like all these weird alien sex scenes and alien things, and it's just like, it's weird, and I like it because Martian Manhunter is one of those weird characters, and so it works well with the book. And I give those probably like 3 out of 5 unicorn horns. Justice League Dark's actually really, really good if you get a chance to read it. I think that's it.
Okay.
Lots of books this week. I don't know how I ended up with so many books because it was a small week. But anyways, so until next week, if you can, like, share, and subscribe. Ring the bell notifications so you can know when we post new videos. We try to post weekly. If you can, please share so that we can.
Is there gonna be one next week, or because you're gonna?
I am gonna be in New York, so I'm gonna try to do one with Monica, but I don't know when I'm gonna post it because it just depends on when we get back. So there should be one just at some point in some time. So
Live from New York.
It's an angel and a unicorn. Da, 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 da. So please like, share, and subscribe. We'd love to have more people. I'd love to have more conversation. I say it every week, and I don't want to get away from that. But until
we're doing
then,
our part. You're falling down on the job.
Pick it up, guys. You can do it. Make me popular. So until then, we hope your guys' pull list is full. Thanks for listening to us. Bye.